Tonight, Port Augusta Council calling for more action than words to tackle antisocial behaviour. And an abattoir near Port Pirie calls for government support.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with John Hunt begins now.
Good evening. Port Augusta City Council says they don't want to be involved in Labor's proposed City Safe program, saying history is repeating itself. The Mayor says funding should be directed to police or community services.
It's an issue not going away. Port Augusta's Mayor says families are scared to take their kids to the playground as the city's antisocial behaviour worsens.
There's a lot of yelling and fighting, and this city needs to be safe.
With an election on the horizon, candidates have had their say, with Labor committing to bring back the City Safe program. But the Mayor claims it won't get to the root of the problem, calling for local police and welfare centres to be supported.
While I'm Mayor, this council will not operate a City Safe program. That funding should be going to the appropriate areas in state government to get what we need done.
The council's sceptical of election promises after the original program's state funding was pulled time after time, leaving ratepayers to foot the bill. Mr Bembo says it's not their responsibility to pay for something servicing out-of-towners.
This is not to fall on the lap of council. Council is doing what it can in this realm, but these are state issues and they need to be fixed.
Calling for more than just a band-aid solution.
Congratulations to the opposition on doing that. Use those funds to put back in those extra funds into a government service, whether it's the police or security service or whoever it may be. Let them do that.
You know, there's a big picture here. So if you go to the grassroots of the problem, it's people that have issues with alcohol and people are homeless, got nowhere to sleep and nowhere to eat. So are we fixing that problem?
Police resourcing and support for the non-government sector. All of these things can be done, and I don't think K9 should be ruled out by the Port Augusta Council.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The developers behind a multi-million-dollar abattoir are calling on both major parties to financially back the project. Located on the outskirts of Port Pirie, proponents say it will create hundreds of jobs.
It's already been delayed 2 years by the pandemic, and now plans for a new abattoir in the mid-north are facing another hurdle. Owners Serpro asking whichever party is elected at next week's state election to inject $15 to $20 million into the project. The abattoir is predicted to boost the local economy by more than $110 million when completed.
We've got federal and state opportunities that we're chasing, and as well as potential support from other parties and individuals.
Independent candidate Jeff Brock is on board with his support.
And all I'm looking for is a commitment from both sides, or one side, to commit to this project here, and let's move on with it and get the thing up and running and create those very, very much needed jobs in Port Pirie and the whole of the region here.
Once up and running, Serpro plan not to waste any of their livestock, making sure the skin and bones are used for other products.
And we're actually transforming that with Australian technology for the first time into high-value material like collagen, calcium and also protein concentrates.
The company also taking a strong stance against climate change.
But we've also got the first offtake agreement with a company called CH4 Global, who are growing Asparagopsis seaweed as a supplement for cattle to reduce methane emissions.
With financial support, construction could begin within months. Christian Komenos, 7 Spencer Golf News.
With just over a week until the state election, a 5th person has entered the race for the seat of Stuart. Pauline Hanson's One Nation has thrown itself into the ring, with David Stone running as their candidate. David says he aims to build more infrastructure to boost tourism.
That there would attract more people to the outback to go visit these places, and you get the more tourism, people are spending money in local business. Is going to boost the economy, it will create jobs.
Mr Stone doesn't live in the region, but says he will move if elected. SA Best is calling for an army battalion to be located between Whyalla and Port Augusta. It comes after the Prime Minister today announced there will be a 30% increase in defence numbers over the next 2 decades.
I advocated very strongly with Malcolm Turnbull when he came to Whyalla in our crisis with the steelwork not to be a one-horse town. So having a Kultana training ground for a battalion, we are perfectly situated.
The Army already has an existing training facility at Kultana. The Far West Local Health District has recorded 40 new cases, with 27 of those in Broken Hill. The organisation is urging the community to come forward for vaccinations, especially in the 5 to 11-year-old age bracket.
A welcome sign for the Far West. COVID case numbers in the region have dropped. The 7-day rolling average now at 221. That figure is down by 63 compared to last week.
The last week we recorded 221 positive cases, compared with 284 the week before and 371 the week before that.
However, cases may rise again with the emergence of the new Omicron BA2 variant. Officials say it's too early to predict how it will affect the community, with not enough information available.
Of course, we have been notified that the Omicron BA2, which is a new variant, has emerged in the community.
Across schools, there has been a significant drop in cases this week. Mr. Argus says the withdrawal of surveillance testing is not impacting those figures.
Certainly we would have seen it in the first week, perhaps second week, but not third week. So I think what it's telling us is that the overall trend for the community is also reflected in the school population.
Vaccination rates of 5 to 11-year-olds still a priority for Far West Health. With only a percentage point rise in recent days, they're hoping the extension of the clinic opening hours from next week will help. Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, we look at what our political parties have planned for the region's local industries. And Kalatumbi ready to splash into life. Welcome back. Tonight we continue our look at the issues affecting the Spencer Gulf this state election. All parties have been advocating hard on their plans for our region's industry and mining sectors. Mark Zeta has the details.
The biggest announcement for industry and mining in this election campaign has been SA Labor's promise to build a hydrogen power plant in the Upper Spencer Gulf if they are elected into power.
The hydrogen power plant does provide backup to renewable energies, which are intermittent, so that's a real plus.
The project, announced last week, will cost more than $560 million. Labor's Eddie Hughes also calling for Whyalla's export capabilities to be expanded to better service the region's mines. Meanwhile, the Liberals have praised the ARTC's decision to use the Whyalla Steelworks for creating heavy-duty track for the Inland Rail project.
This is a very positive step forward. In fact, I met with Sanjeev Gupta in Whyalla a week ago to the day, and we discussed it, and he was incredibly pleased with it.
The party has previously announced a hydrogen hub of their own for Port Bonython and a business case for a desalination plant in the region.
Look, the Upper Spencer Gulf is one of the most important centres of attention for our Marshall Liberal government.
Meanwhile, SA Best's Tom Antonio is concerned the effect Labor's hydrogen proposal will have on cuttlefish, calling it a publicity stunt.
You cannot put our giant cuttlefish at risk. And, you know, this is a knee-jerk reaction, and a knee-jerk reaction to win votes.
It's just absolutely silly. There are a number of options around our community.
Our election preview will continue on 7 Spencer Gulf News next week as we look into each party's tourism and regional development policies.
This year's Kalatumbi Festival will be held over the long weekend, with thousands set to descend on the region. One of the township's biggest events, interstate artists are set to bring their own unique shade.
A splatter of paint lighting up the town's walls. The Kalatumbi Festival coming a long way since its origins in 2018.
Officially it kicks off on Friday. Friday night there's a photographic exhibition on from a local photographer. Saturday we've got a fun run, we've got fireworks on Saturday night.
The festival attracting artists from across the globe looking to showcase their talent.
We got 5 of Australia's best artists and 1 Australian born but Scottish based, Glasgow based, has come back from Glasgow. just to paint and tumby.
One in particular looking to pay homage to the town.
Looked into, obviously, when I was here, what the town was about. There's a lot of farming, there's a lot of fishing, and I wanted to sort of pay tribute to the hard-working fishermen around, and also bring some joy in the faces and the portraiture that I do as well, so for the kids.
A range of different works will be on display for visitors to see.
I'll be working on 2 portraits and a big octopus, so I won't say who the portraits are of yet, just in case. But yeah, 2 local girls, young girls that I'll be painting.
And it's not too late to join the action, with registrations still open.
Jump online at colourtumby.com to book them. Fun run you need to book beforehand. All the art workshops, cooking workshops, all the other stuff. You really got to jump onto colourtumby.com.
Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Golf News.
New data has been released that outlines the needs of communities across the Eyre Peninsula. The Vital Signs report takes a snapshot of the region and puts in perspective what needs to be done by community groups.
Giving communities across the Eyre Peninsula an important health check. The Vital Signs report, introduced to members of the Whyalla City Council following an earlier launch in Port Lincoln.
A project which has been going for 2 years now, which releases data and statistics in regard to the strengths, challenges of Eyre Peninsula.
The report looks into several statistical aspects across the peninsula, including health, disadvantage, education and sense of belonging. It's hoped the data can be used to encourage community groups and councils to look at what is needed to be done to improve living standards.
In regard to discussions about where they can best provide funding and support in regard to the areas of need and disadvantage.
Councillors and other community members from across Whyalla were taken through the details of the report at a presentation at the Civic Centre earlier today. The Foundation welcoming the interest of local leaders in their information.
It's good to see this sort of thing come out and get shared with the community leaders so that they can have that information and respond to the information.
Mark Zeta, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us. A new scholarship to support Eyre Peninsula's tertiary students launched. And we have a sneak peek at this year's Mulca Art Prize. The Eyre Peninsula Community Foundation has announced 2 tertiary scholarships to be awarded this year. The funding will go towards aiding the cost of books and resources for students moving away from home to study.
2 deserving students will get the chance to further their education. The Eyre Peninsula Community Foundation looking to award excellence.
This presents an opportunity for the Foundation to support young people from Eyre Peninsula to travel to Adelaide to continue tertiary study or to take on tertiary studies.
The Foundation aiding students by covering some of their moving costs.
Yeah, we've got two scholarships on offer, both at $2,000 for the first year. And so we're proud of that connection and the support that we're offering.
Year 12 students with aspirations of going to university can now apply for these scholarships. Mr. Downey saying funding will open more pathways.
And what we're looking for is for students who are unable to access scholarships or sponsorships from other areas to consider applying for these scholarships through the Foundation.
An extensive selection process will be undertaken by the Foundation before awarding the scholarships. The program encouraging the community to support these students.
To consider donating some funds into that scholarship fund so that we can continue this fund into the future.
Applications close on April 8th. Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The pathology collection room at the Broken Hill Hospital has been closed until next week. Management says the decision was due to unforeseen circumstances and is expected to reopen on Tuesday. In the meantime, people who need blood taken are advised to talk to their GP. The health service apologising for the inconvenience caused, saying the on-site laboratory is operating as normal for other services. A local company is showing their support for Port Augusta's Mulka Art Competition, donating a generous amount of cash to the prize fund. The prize will be won by a First Nations person who submits their artwork before May 15.
The Mulka Art Prize is back for 2022. Organisers say the contest is one of the best opportunities for local Aboriginal artists to showcase their talent. This year, the winner will also take home a healthy cash prize, thanks to the Bungala Solar Farm and Port Augusta City Council.
We're excited because it takes our pool prize for the overall winner up to $20,000.
Entries are now open, with submissions from areas outside of Port Augusta now also accepted.
With boundaries, artists from Port Pirie all the way around to Port Lincoln are eligible to enter this year also, and the far north as well.
Organisers say the variety of entrants will make for a unique experience.
It gives us a bigger catchment of artists to participate in it. And these artists are individual artists who aren't part of art centres.
After the winner is announced in June, an exhibition of the works will go on display. As a past winner herself, Marika knows firsthand how this competition can support up-and-coming artists.
It was a great stepping stone to launch my art practice, and where I see myself now, I'm actually going to be curating the show.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. Our fishing experts tell us what's biting in the Gulf this weekend. And we'll have the weather details with Alex Sykes. Hello again. Time now to check what's biting when we drop a line in the Spencer Gulf this weekend. Here's our experts with their tips.
G'day and welcome to this week's fishing tips from Port Augusta, Jewel of the North. Well, change of seasons is in at the moment, so there's a real chill in the air in the mornings. And that wind's, this is probably the best day I've had for a while, but that wind's been pretty stirred up. You can bet that'll bring the silver whiting on the bite, out in those biddle banks on the low tides along the shacks. But as you'd also expect this time of year, the crabs are pretty bountiful at the moment and they're absolutely beautiful and full of meat. Up here in the harbour, there's been a couple of snook getting caught just off the boat ramp behind me. A couple of people can get some snook, so that's a bit of a change there. And also some Tommy Ruffs and salmon trout as well. That's all we have from the Jewel of the North.
Welcome another week around the Gulf fishing tips from Port Pirie. So we've been telling you about yellowfin whiting that have been occurring, and whilst we've been saying that, I did speak last week of squid at Checker Buoy, but just looking at the weather patterns that we've had and the coolness of this season, I would say that normally in April our squid come on. I would say from now on try with the squid drag over all the time. I think you'll be very, very surprised that you'll get a good feed of them. That will mean also that we'll have the early onslaught of King George whiting. So whilst you're coming in and out, just drop in on your favourite King George whiting spot and you may be surprised you might get a feed.
Hi, Whalers Fishing Tips. This weekend is a great weekend for fishing. We've got some great weather coming and fresh tides. Land-based, we've had silver whiting coming from the foreshore and also some nice garfish in there as well. Down the Point Lowly area, we've had schools of salmon holding up against the rocks. There's been still a few sharks caught off the rocks on the windy afternoons. For the boaties, plenty of blue swimmer crabs and also a few blue swimmer crabs starting to come on the local foreshore as well. It has been a little bit further south down towards Cowes Landing, and also the boaties, some nice garfish coming down from the Mount Young grounds.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. Well, when the weather cooperates, there's been some really good tuna news coming in from around the peninsula. So some fish have been caught out around the Cabbage Patch. Out around the offshore reefs, there's been some nice silver trevally as well. Kingfish and Samson fish have been a little bit hit and miss over the last week or two. Back in closer to shore, there's been some reasonable reports of whiting around Boston Island, along with some nice sized garfish. And there has been a few small pink snapper in the area too, so make sure you move away from them if you start catching a few. Salmon news, there's been some nice salmon caught down at Gunya Beach and also up at Loxwell. Well, that's all for this week. Wishing everyone good fishing over the long weekend, and we'll see you again next week.
And with a look at how the weather is shaping up for the upcoming long weekend, it's good evening this Thursday evening to Alex Sykes.
Thanks, John, and good evening to you and everyone. A bit of cloud blocking the sun in some regions today. At 3 p.m, Port Augusta was sunny and 28, Adelaide reached 24, and Cooper Pedy got to a top of 29. Looking out across the region now, partly cloudy, 22 in Port Lincoln. Whyalla and Kadina were both 24, Port Pirie 28, and Broken Hill was 24 degrees. Taking a look at the satellite image now, high cloud crossing central parts of South Australia in the jet stream is not bringing any rain. Clear across most of the state under high pressure and a dry air mass. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Southeast winds reaching 25 knots, seas 1 to 2 metres, and the swell will be south to southwesterly reaching 1.5 metres. Port Lincoln 23 tomorrow, Cleve expecting 26, and Woodna will be fine and sunny reaching 31 degrees. Whyalla is set to top 27, Port Augusta a little warmer, 31 degrees there, and Kadina will be mostly sunny and is set to top 28 degrees. A sunny day in Port Pirie tomorrow, 30 degrees, Clare partly cloudy and 27, and Broken Hill can expect a top of 26 degrees. Taking a look further through the week now, and perfect conditions for Saturday. Kadina, Whyalla and Adelaide all 29 degrees. Port Pirie 32, Broken Hill 28, Woodna and Cooper Pedy are in for a warm one, both expecting 34 degrees. Similar conditions for Sunday, Woodna and Cooper Pedy, once again the region's warmest, both 35. Port Lincoln a little cooler, 27 expected there. Port Augusta and Port Pirie 34. And looking ahead to the public holiday Monday now, dry and partly cloudy in Cooper Pedy, expecting 37 degrees. Port Pirie and Woodna 35, Broken Hill 32. And if you're heading to Adelaide for the big race day, it'll be sunny and mostly sunny, 32 degrees there. Well, John, it appears you won't be needing the umbrella anytime soon, and that's all the weather from me for tonight. It's back to you.
Thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Thursday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later, and we will return tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.